Test, 1, 2. Ah, hello. Yeah. Hello, Hendro.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Good
Yeah, thank
morning.
you for giving some time for us.
Yeah, that's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm using the standalone system here that we have for the when I'm doing an online or any of the teachers is doing a purely online class
yes, yes,
without students in the classroom.
yeah.
And so this is the kind of thing that the interface that you'll see. And
Uh-huh.
I've set up your institution actually in advance so you could see your logo as you came
Thank
in
you.
and so forth. Um, but so this is basically the interface that the student will see,
Yeah,
and other students can come in and talk in a discussion with us, up to about 4 students
uh-huh.
together like this
Yeah,
in instantaneous. But at the same time, all the students are seeing a stream. So when you first came in, you were seeing a YouTube streaming of exactly the same thing as happening now.
yeah, yeah.
So all the students have a very smooth experience of the classroom. It's not buffering or anything, and immediately it's there for it's recorded in the YouTube channel. So you just set up your YouTube channel for use with it. So yeah. So do you want to introduce yourselves and so I
Yeah,
can get to know you a little bit?
yeah. So as you know, my name is Hendro. I am the Dean of General Affairs and Finance and Human Resource in STT Amanat Agung. And this is a Great Commission Theological Seminary.
Right.
Yeah, with me is my senior, Dr. Mr. Reverend Lee Han Ing. Yeah, Reverend Lee Han Ing. He's a teacher also in this seminary. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And you say you have background in IT?
Yes. I was a computer engineer. Yeah, a computer science engineer.
Oh, very good.
I worked for 11 years like that in telco company before
Right.
I get into seminary.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
good. Very good. So I mean, 1 or 2 questions I would need to check with you as to exactly what you're hoping to do.
yeah.
But presumably, then you're wanting to set up a hybrid classroom where you've got students in the classroom and also online. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we want to establish classes for students who will be in the classroom and also who will be offsite. Currently, we are using like Zoom, but with a very simple setup. So we plan to expand the setting, the system, so we can use maybe at this moment, we plan to use 2 computers with a camera pointing to the teacher and another camera pointing to the classroom. And then we will have multiple projectors to show the class and also the participants of the online participants.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's quite a complicated setting. So when I met Terry, he told me that this system is free to use if you want to.
Yeah.
He asked me to just contact you, so yeah, I did, and here
Okay.
we are. Yeah.
I mean, we've been experimenting with this for about 12, 13 years now. I started doing it just to extend the classroom, just as a hobby to begin with. I just saw that it was impossible. It was possible to embed a streaming, and so to begin with, people were seeing a stream that was delayed about 50 seconds. Now the YouTube, the ultra low latency is only about 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's very fast. And then we used other means of monitoring the students' cameras and things, but it all became very expensive. And so when I looked into WebRTC, I could see that it's possible to actually do my own software and set up like what we're using at the moment is WebRTC, so it's instantaneous, and it's IP to IP. It doesn't go through any server,
Okay.
so it's direct. So it's not dependent on the fact that the classroom is set up on the BBS server. I do have a limitless classroom server, but it's just a mirror at the moment.
Okay.
And so all the basic information is set up on the BBS server, but none of the data or the video data is flowing through the server here. So there's no delay. It's direct from your student IP, direct to the IP of your classroom. So this is how it operates, and we've had up to 200 students successfully using this, continuously monitoring them, and then any of them can come in at any time and talk like this, or they could present their PowerPoints or their share screen and whatever with the class.
Yeah.
But it does work best in the configuration with the hardware that we've set up here, which I could then go through with you, and if you were happy to kind of adapt what you have already in order to accommodate what we've found has been the best way to set it up with the different functions that we have, because I mean, you can see on the screen in front of you, you could be on the screen in front of you, you've got various chats. So you've got a chat to the operator if you've got a problem, any technical problem. But then a chat to the teacher, which is generally used for just random questions or anything about homework assignments or anything. But while the class is operating, I've developed this special chat at the bottom where people are supposed to respond together. And so if I ask the classroom, if I was, say, teaching theology, and I ask them, does a church need a building to be classified as a church theologically? And well, you can see 3 buttons on the right-hand side. I could poll them on that question and ask them to reply yes, no, unsure. Do you want to just press the button, and then you can see what comes up on my end when they all poll and they all press that button, and then in a moment it will come up on my screen here, along with any other chats on this answer together section, where you can write comments on a certain idea that we're discussing at the present, and then I can refresh that. Okay, so you answered yes, and it gives an idea of how the class is responding or thinking about a certain subject, and then you can go on. But I could refresh that, and then if you wanted to put something like can you all tell me where you're living at the moment, or something like that, and it could be any question concerned with what we're studying, and have their feedback. So this means that, say, if you've got 100 students online, you can get 100 answers coming back all together on a certain topic, and then I could then respond to the ones that seem interesting. So if you need to press an enter or send it in order for me to see whatever you've written. You don't need to write a lot. Okay. Okay, so then I can see that it's Hendro Lim, and
Yeah.
we live in Jakarta. I have a background in IT, background in technical engineering. Okay, so I'd get a whole scrolling of these that I can scroll down all the answers and just
Yeah.
pick out one or two, and then I could choose a student who's answered quite interestingly to come in and talk like we're talking now,
Yes.
and all the class would then see them, you see. And then at the end of that question, I can again refresh it, and then it's ready for another class. So it's a very good interface. And
Yeah.
when the teacher's teaching, on his right-hand screen, the way we've set it up, he's got his own PowerPoint in front of him. And then and it's at an angle, so it's not covering his face, because the students need to see the face of and the body of the teacher. So it's like when a TV news presenter is presenting the news, we tilt the screen down to about 45 degrees so that it's not covering the teacher in front of him. So he's got his basic PowerPoint in front of him. So say like I've got a PowerPoint that I'm then can be showing as I'm teaching and so forth. This is my wife. She's from the Philippines. So we have a son, Paul, who's here. He's an artist. And our other son, we just come back from the UK. This is my other son. They live in Oxford. And our two granddaughters, Olivia and Chloe. Yeah. So
Beautiful family.
and then so you can mix the screen, because I'm using OBS and set up the scenes as I want, and so you can see all these different scenes as I'm going. So I could mix anything together that's wanted, and then the students that are watching the normal channel on the YouTube can then put that full screen if they want, and set it to the full HD resolution and so forth. And then immediately at the end of the class, it's all recorded automatically on your channel, and they can go straight back, and they're given the link automatically when the class closes. The link comes up for them to watch the recording. And also all the attendances are recorded. Every now and again you'll see a red banner that comes up on your screen, and the students are supposed to press a button when they see that banner come up, and it comes up randomly. And when you set up the class, you can set up as many times you want to test them with this banner. It's just we find in Thailand, you don't have to set it. You could have zero responses, but we find it really helps the students to be concentrated, and they're not on the other screens. They're not on doing different work on their computer while they're supposed to be studying, because they'll miss those responses. And if they don't respond, then that's all recorded. Our system is recording when the student comes in, and you can set the criteria for that. So let me just show you the console monitor for the operator, or the teacher can set up the class. So like the setup of the institution, I set up your institution here on this menu, but you can set up classes here. You can either use an existing class, so this is the meeting with Hendro, the one that we are, and I've set up the criteria here for when we're starting, when we've finished the class, how late the student can enter and still be classified as present. You can set up the minutes. You can then set up how many minutes he has to be showing his camera during that time, because we want to see them. If they're just passively learning, we can't be sure that they're learning and present. And then you can set up the number of responses that you need them to respond to, and then the names of the class students, which could be pasted in from Moodle if you're using Moodle or whatever. And then you save your class data, or you could set up a new class. And then all the attendances at the end of the class, you can then look at here and see what the attendances were for that class. And so here, this is going to come up with today's date for when we were meeting, you see. So it's all automatic on this. And then the monitor, as the class is being operated or in process, this is the this is the operator's monitor of the class, and he can actually see the chats as well, especially the operator class, that he responds to any problems that the students have on a technical side, and he can check that the video stream is working properly and so forth. And during the break times, we don't want any of these responses to come up during a break time when the students would have a coffee or go to the toilet or whatever. So he would press this button, and then that starts a break, and that informs the system not to bring up a response prompt during that period. So it's quite a comprehensive system in terms of monitoring attendance. And at the end of the class, when you close the class, then automatically the teacher of the class, you set his email in the console. So like in the setup class, if I choose our meeting, I've set your email here. A moment ago, you probably got an email of the class that I opened before, but I've erased the information already. But at the end of this session with you, when I close this class, you should get an email, and it gives you a list of the students in the class and whether they passed or not, and if they didn't pass, why they didn't pass. Suppose they came in too late, or they failed to respond when they should have been responding, and so forth. They failed the criteria of either they came in late, or they didn't show their camera enough minutes, or they didn't respond correctly enough times. They could fail once or twice in the responses, but it's up to you how you set the criteria of each class. So you can set up these classes in advance for the whole week, and then you can but if you click on that link in your email, I've already erased the data for that, so it won't come up, but it will come up at the end of this session.
I tried.
It will come up. There's no information anymore there. So I wonder whether if I just a second. I mean, in our classroom, what we do is, I have a list of things I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
Cukup interaktif ya. Kita bisa ngecek mahasiswa aktif gitu dan sebagainya. Satu ini bisa banyak kelas.
Okay. The class works best if the teacher is not trying to operate the system themselves. This is okay at the moment for this setup, because it's just one computer and everybody is online. But if you've got people in the classroom and everything, you don't want to distract the teacher in having to operate a system as well. Now what we do, we have one main operator who really understands the system, and it's the starting of the class that's the most difficult part, because you have to start your YouTube stream, you have to get the OBS opened, and all the other things to make sure the cameras are working and so forth. So our main IT starts the classes, and we have about 3 classes running at the same time in different rooms. So he makes sure that the classes start all right, and then we use one of the students often to actually operate it. And maybe it's a student who's on a grant or is receiving help from the school or whatever, and that's the way he can return in a way. Or else we have another member of staff that can help on the operating at certain times. So It does rarely work best if you have somebody who's able to be an operator in the class alongside the teacher. If you're expecting the teacher to teach and operate, you're going to have problems for sure. Especially with some teachers that are not really very IT savvy. They'll, anything that goes out of the usual, and on a computer, certain things happen, and if you're familiar with the system, it's immediate, you can do it. But if you're not, then you panic, and especially if you're trying to hold a class at the same time. So the way that I've set it is that the teacher just teaches. He just concentrates on his PowerPoint and his teaching, and he can use the whiteboard as usual because there's a camera on him on the whiteboard. But there's also a microphone. We've got I've made a custom-made mixer that mixes electret microphones, which are highly sensitive, but they don't require a battery. All the biasing for the electret microphones is all set up within the custom mixer that I've made. It's not that expensive, but I have to have somebody make it for each institution or each classroom that is going to use it. But it's just push buttons, but it's a system of ICs inside it mixing, but all the levels are already preset. And so we have a set of 9 microphones, and so 6 microphones on the tables of the students, and it's all wired, no wireless, because as you know, the wireless is, number one, you have a problem with the batteries, and number two, they go off, or the frequency, there's a problem. You're forever messing around. So they're all wired, and then they come into this custom-made mixer, and all the operator does is push the button for the desk where the student is. That's all he does, push the button on, and the light comes on with the button, so he knows that that's on. And normally the teacher's microphone is always on, so that's one for the teacher. There's one for the whiteboard, so if he moves and writing on the whiteboard, his voice is still very clear.
I see.
And then any of the students in the classroom, like the Zoom rooms, they're just using one microphone on the ceiling. But you can imagine that the sound is not as good. This really sounds very good, and the students, it's invisible for the students. It's very, very small, but it's fixed to the table. But the student doesn't have to switch on the microphone either. Otherwise, they'll always forget to switch on the microphones. The operator, it's his job. When any student starts to speak in the class, just push the button. He doesn't have to turn a knob. He doesn't have to do a slider up and fix the volume. No, it's all preset. But it will be very clear for anybody in a range of about 3 meters of that microphone. So that's working very well. And so from that mixer, it just mixes into the one microphone input of your computer. So normally the teacher microphone is on all the time, and then you just add in however many students in the class are speaking at that time. Normally it's just one extra. And then the operator just switches it off. It's just a push button on, push button off. But it does mean that if you wire these microphones in, we have all our tables. It's a dedicated room for hybrid. So we've laid out the rooms according to the way we want. So it's 2 rows of, it's 3 rows of 2 columns. So 2 columns in front of the teacher, 3 rows is basic. And then anything else is extra at the back, but we can divide the room. That's the way we've set it up. But I mean, it's possible to add more microphones in, but it gets a bit tedious. And normally the class is not that big. So that would then, we have each desk, 3 students per desk. So it's like a bench desk. And then the microphone is in the middle of that bench desk. So there's three students per desk, and 6 desks. So that's 18 students. Normally we don't have more, but if we do, they go at the back. And you could add another microphone towards the back, just in the middle, to cover the back part of the room. But it means that we fix those tables to the floor so they're not moved around. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem with your wiring. And then, so in front of the teacher, he has his monitor for his PowerPoint, and that's being projected up on the LCD projector, or else on a TV screen or whatever, wherever you want to position that neatly. And we try to have it positioned so the students don't have to look too high up as well when the teacher's teaching. So it's more or less in the same range. And then on the right-hand side of the teacher, there's another monitor connected to the teacher machine. We have two machines, a teacher machine and an operator machine, but they're linked together through AnyDesk. So we can pull the screen for the LCD projector through AnyDesk into the operator machine and make that part of the scene in the OBS before we broadcast that out. So that's the way we're using AnyDesk at the moment. But there are other ways that we could link the machines together as well. But so the teacher has his PowerPoint in front of him, that screen, which is at a 45-degree angle, or it's less than 45 degrees, but he can see it very clearly. But all the students can see the teacher very clearly. And then to his right-hand side, he has a monitor showing this chat. He has this chat on that screen. So he can see that, and he can also see the teacher, the teacher chat, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. But when he's monitoring all these responses from the students, the teacher can then refresh the screen. He can check the yes, no, and sure, and he can read and everything, those things quite easily on his right-hand screen. And then also connected to the teacher machine, there's a monitor in the classroom which has that same, it's a TV monitor in the classroom that has that chat. So the students in the classroom can see what the online students have written also, and they can then respond to anything that the students have written. And then in front of the teacher, near where the students are sitting, there's another TV screen pointing towards the teacher. You can see the way it's set up actually on the website limitlessclassrooms.com. You can see a picture of it, but the teacher can see all the online students in columns, like it's set up here. They can see this screen. They don't see me. No, the teacher can see all the students in front of him on this 42-inch screen that's set lower down than the students in the classroom. So when he looks down over his monitor for the PowerPoint, he can see this TV and he can see all the students. Now, if there are more than 40, I've lost you. I'm not sure if there's a problem with your connection. I've lost you. Okay. Okay, you're back now. Okay. I can call you in, or else you can press a button to come in yourself as
Oh,
well.
okay.
There's two ways of coming in. The teacher could bring somebody in like this,
Mm.
or else you can then press a button as well. Do you want to try doing that?
Okay.
You need to press, it's at the top middle button to request to speak in the classroom. And you can set it up to permanently allow you, and it would just be one push of the button. You could just do it, you could set it up to remember that you always want to come straight in. And if you look, if you do it again and I reset this, you can see how, you can see if you request, you can set up the system so that it can be a warning to the teacher that somebody is wanting to come in. A moment ago I set it up to come in automatically. If you try coming in again now, just press the same button to come in again. You will see that it's now flashing. And so the teacher will see on the front of the screen if the students, there's somebody who wants to come in, and then the teacher can actually allow you then to come in like that. You see, there's two different modes, so you can do it automatically, that you automatically come in. That's up to the operator setting or the teacher side setting. So. Okay, so we need to be instantaneously talking together if we're going to be instantaneous. Otherwise, you're seeing about a 2-second delay streaming of the classroom. And that's what all the other students see. So even the students with poor bandwidth, like I'm teaching a class at the moment for AGST, and there's one guy, he's in the jungles in Indonesia. He's right in the middle of the jungle, and he has to use a satellite connection. And it's very poor bandwidth, but he can see the class perfectly through the YouTube stream, even though when he comes in, it's very intermittent when we're trying to talk immediately like this. It's difficult, but at least he can see and hear everything very clearly on the YouTube stream. So that's the advantage for any of the students that have poor bandwidth. The online student, at least they can have a good smooth experience of the classroom, and it's like a broadcast more, but it's almost instantaneous. And then again, if anybody and if anybody wanted to interact with us in what we're discussing at the moment, they can also press that button, and we can have up to 4 people like a panel discussing something. And also then you could then share your screen as well. If I press a button here, then you could then share your screen with the class, and then that's being seen. So I'll turn that off. You don't need to do it at the moment. But so the teacher, in front of the teacher, he can see all the students. He sees this screen, but he doesn't see himself there. And also that screen is duplicated on another TV screen for all the students in the classroom. So the students in the classroom are seeing 2 TV screens. They're seeing the chat, this chat, and they're seeing the students. They're seeing this screen of the students, and then they're seeing the PowerPoint, of course. Are you using an LCD projector, or are you using a TV screen?
We use a LCD projector.
So that's the same as our classroom. So there are two TV screens that they're seeing, plus the LCD projector, and then the whiteboard, of course. And then we've got 3 cameras The way we've set it up is with 3 cameras. We've got 1 camera directly on the teacher, 1 camera on the whiteboard, and then 1 camera on the students in the classroom. And they're all full HD cameras. But you need to have different models of the camera, otherwise OBS gets confused with the different cameras. If you use the same model of camera, it gets confused between them. So we use 3 different full HD, but just webcams. It really works very well and it's very stable. The only thing is with a USB webcam, you can't go beyond 5 meters of extension cable, otherwise the signal and the boosters doesn't work so well. So we have 1 camera fixed above the TV screen that the teacher sees, and that's pointing towards the teacher. And then we have another one fixed that's looking at the whiteboard, and then we have the other one fixed looking at the students. And that can be zoomed in on certain students if you want to, using different scenes or different settings on the OBS. So basically, I would suggest that if you want it to work well, you copy the way we've configured it, because it does work very well with the software that we're using, that I've developed. So the one question would be, do you have a dedicated room? Do you have an IT person that can be the operator or the main operator, and then teach 2 or 3 of the students so that they know how to switch the scene? Basically, the operator is just switching scenes on the OBS and pressing the microphone button when a student speaks in the classroom.
We do. Okay. We do have at this moment we have 1 room we want to set up. We want to set up as a hybrid room, so it's dedicated for that. So I think we can follow your suggestion to fix the microphone to the tables or certain position, and we won't change the room setting, so it won't be a problem. And then we also have technical support staffs. They can learn how to operate and then teach the student. Good. Yeah, that's perfect. What did work well, if you have the funding, and I don't know what your budget is, but the basic hardware, it's off-the-shelf hardware, basically. We're using, for the main operator machine, we're using an i7 with 16 gig RAM, and each of the machines have 4 screens connected. So the processor needs to be able to have onboard graphics, plus we have a graphics card. So we have 4 screens on the operator machine, and we have 4 screens on the teacher machine too. And so, but the teacher machine doesn't need to be as high powered. That could be an i3, i5 machine, but similar kind of gigabyte. But the main thing for the operator machine is when we're receiving the streams from up to 200 students. I don't know how many students you have online, but we've built up over the 10 years since we started doing it. Every term there's an increase in the number, because they tell their friends, oh, you can study and you don't have to travel to the Bible school. And so our registration is increasing every term, and you can imagine how the principal is happy about that, because everybody pays, and it doesn't cost any more for us to actually operate it. But the income now, Bangkok Bible Seminary is basically self-supporting just from the registration of the students. And so, but we've tested it with up to 200 students. Typically in our evening classes, they're the most popular for online students, because they're lay people who are at work during the day, and then they want to study. They're serving in their church in some capacity, and they want to study. So we have up to 200 students joining a class of, say, 15 students in the classroom.
on Monday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night, different courses. Well, we are receiving a downstream from almost 200 students. Now, the resolution is very low when we're just monitoring them. And if there's more than 40, the screen automatically adjusts the size according to the number of students. But once you go over 40, it's going to go on to multiple tabs. And it automatically scrolls through the tabs. So it shows one tab for about 30 seconds, and then it switches to the next tab, and then switches to the next tab. But then if any student comes in like this and talks, immediately it switches to that tab, and then he's projected in the middle like you are at the moment. So, but you can imagine that these 200, up to 200 downstreams from or 200 connections from students, that's quite a load on the system.
Yes.
But they're all IP to IP, so it's no load through the server. It's all direct. All that's been shown on this screen is WebRTC, direct IP to IP. But what the students are normally receiving, they're receiving an SMTP stream from YouTube. So again, that's very easy for the students. They're doing just one upstream of their camera and a YouTube downstream. That's all they're doing. So it's very easy for their bandwidth. But when they come in again, then it's two-way. But we're still monitoring all the 200 students. So that's why we need a good graphics card on the operator machine. So that needs to be 4 gigabytes if you want to have many students. It could get away with 2 gigabytes. All these specifications I'll send you. I've got a full setup document for the system of how to set it up, and recommended what the hardware should be for the system. But what did work very well in the Philippines, the Koinonia school in the Philippines, they sent their IT guy to Bangkok to come and watch for about 3 days. He was here at Bangkok Bible Seminary and learning the system from us here. And then he went back to the Philippines and set it all up there. That worked better than Myanmar. In Myanmar, in Yangon, we did it all remotely like this, and I helped him, the IT guy, but it was quite difficult for him without having seen it working here. But I mean, it depends on you, basically, but BBS is very happy to accommodate somebody from another place if you want to come and learn, and then you would be the one. You dropped out for a moment there. I don't know whether you pressed the button or not, or
yes.
Yeah, don't press the button to stop speaking. Otherwise you go back. Yeah, I mean, if you press the button, it's equivalent to me taking you out here, and you will then see the actual streaming. You're now seeing the streaming of the classroom, and you can expand that to full screen if you wanted to, and you can make sure so you could see the classroom operating full screen, and make sure it's on the full HD if your internet connection is okay for that. So you're now watching about a 2 or 3 second delay of live, you see. But at any time I can then pull you in to speak directly. So, yeah, anything else? So you've got dedicated room. The microphones I will supply to you. Normally it's about 5,000 or 6,000 baht. I don't know how many rupiah that would be, but it's less than $200 to do the mixer and the microphones. Is small microphone cable readily accessible for you there? I guess in Indonesia it wouldn't be too difficult to buy microphone wire for wiring the room.
Yeah, should be no problem.
Yeah, and you only need the very thin wire. It doesn't need to be thick microphone wire. But we trunk it, so we have like plastic trunking when we do it. Let me just see if the class is running at the moment, and then you can see the actual room for a second. Just a second.
Dia bikin sendiri loh. Oh iya, dia juga IT berarti ya?
Ya kayaknya bisa kalau kayak gini mas. Dia ngerti bisnis.
Do you have your WhatsApp on a mobile?
Yes, I have.
Then if I call you a video call.
Yes.
Okay. And I'll take you now into the room where there's a classroom going on.
ที่อินโดนีเซียเขาอยากจะทำระบบอันเดียวกัน so here sorry this teaching so you can see the online students here and then the chat on the other side and the PowerPoint projector so and all the tables have microphones see so
Yes.
he just said a button here or whatever microphone. Don't leave the microphone on if it's a student.
Oh, okay. So we have a mixer.
Okay, so thank you. And then the teacher, you see his screen and then the other screen. There for the chats.
Yes.
Very important.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'll turn off the WhatsApp now.
Yeah.
So, were you able to see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
We can
thank you.
see that. Yeah.
Okay, so you can see it actually working, and there's another classroom going on at the same time upstairs as well, so you can have multiple classrooms set up with the system, but again you need to set the hardware for each classroom.
Yeah.
So, so you have sound mixer in the operator desk.
Yeah.
Just to make all the sound can put together before you give it.
Well, it's only for the microphones. The mixer is only mixing the 9 microphones.
Yeah.
So
Student desk.
there's 6 for the students, then there's 1 for the teacher, 1 for the whiteboard when he's standing at the whiteboard, and then there's 1 for the IT operator if he needs to speak to the students. But the way you arrange them is up to you. But the way that the buttons are laid out on the mixer,
so you can
it's where the desks are, so he knows if the student's sitting where, and then he just presses. Or you could number them, number the desks and number the mixer. But it costs me about for the microphones, for the 9 microphones and the mixer would be less than $200. So not too bad, but need to send it to you as well, or else if you have somebody traveling from Bangkok, I mean, it's going to take you some time to set up the room, but if you're really committed to it, then I'll have a mixer made up for you, and then it's ready to be sent if there's anybody traveling.
Okay.
They could take
In
it.
that case, maybe we can arrange, maybe our staff maybe can come to you and observe and learn, and then if anything we can ask you to
Yeah,
help.
I can have it ready for when they're here, and then they can take it back with them. That would work very well. Yeah.
So it seems your microphone is a condenser one, condenser mic.
Yeah, condenser microphones. Yeah.
And about the monitor screen, how many students can be seen in once? Yeah, 40.
Okay, so when the teacher is teaching normally and not speaking to a student, he can see up to 40 students
40
on one
students.
screen.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that would, if there's more than 40 students,
And then
the system makes multiple tabs.
Yeah.
So, and it will rotate through the different tabs every 30 or 20 seconds. It goes to another tab.
Automatically.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if a student speaks, it stops rotating and it's on the tab where that student is, his name.
Oh, okay.
And he will be projected as you are now. And then if anybody else wants to interact with what we're saying, the teacher and the student that's speaking, he can also come in and it will be his picture will be added to this, and everybody can discuss. It's like a panel, could discuss something.
So if the student in the class want to interact with the student out of the class, they can use this one.
If the student in the class wants to speak, he just speaks as normal. It's just like a normal classroom, and his microphone is put on by the operator.
Yeah. But the student outside of the class, they just only can see from the camera.
Yeah, the operator would change the scene to whatever the scene is with the students in the classroom, or else it could be mixed. Normally in the classroom, we have a mixed scene of the teacher, the classroom students, and the online students all on the same screen. So often that's the way that the students would be seeing the class normally, or else the teacher and the PowerPoint, or the teacher and the PowerPoint and the online students, or the teacher and the PowerPoint with the classroom students all together. It depends on how you set up your OBS. You can set up whatever you want, the mixture of your cameras and so forth. So if somebody in the classroom was speaking, then the operator would change the scene to make sure that that student is seen clearly, and then somebody online may want to speak to them, so somebody online would push their button at the top and come in and speak to them as well, and they could discuss something together if they wanted to.
So about the camera that you use for the students, is that can the camera can be zoom into one or another one, or?
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's up to you what cameras you want to use in the classroom.
So how about your classroom?
You could have cameras that can be zoomed, or but I do suggest that you don't have them so that you need another operator to operate the cameras. You want to have them fixed there. But there are some cameras that come in through a HDMI link, or what's it called? You could have high quality cameras, but all we do actually is we use a full HD camera on the classroom, and we position it so that the classroom pretty much fills the 1920 by 1080 resolution. And then on our OBS, we've set scenes so that it can already is zoomed on one area of the classroom. The definition goes down, obviously, but normally you don't need that high a definition when you're seeing the student speaking. But it doesn't have to be the whole classroom when just when student is speaking. It depends how you set up your OBS to zoom certain parts of that camera. You can do that. Or else there are some cameras where you can use a remote to zoom on certain parts, but then you're adding work for your operator. If you've already preset it in your OBS, we have about 4 settings, so different parts of the classroom then come full screen at a lower resolution, but at least it's clearer who's speaking. And it's low cost. I mean, it's not a big outlay. I mean, these cameras are not that expensive. But if you're starting to go for the HD capture kind of setup, that starts to get quite expensive and it's more complicated. There's a bit of a load on the system where you're using multiple cameras on USBs, but if it's an i7 and you've got plenty of RAM and so forth, we find that it's very smooth. We don't have problems with our cameras and the load on the USBs.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the best solution would be if somebody can come and learn, we'd need to know in advance of when you would want, and then I'll know when to get the mixer already for him. We use a fixed LAN as well. We don't use Wi-Fi for the machine for the 2 machines. That's all fixed LAN.
Yes. Is it possible for us to get some technical documents before?
Manual.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I can send you immediately the setup manual and the user manual.
Yeah. And we
In
can
fact,
learn
I'll give you the password I'll give you the link for going into the console, and if you see the console, down here is links, and it gives you all the links. I'll show you how to get into this console for your institution.
Okay.
I'll give you the link for going into the console and the password that I've set for this, but you could change the password later by just saying you've forgotten the password and then reset it if you want. But and this gives you all the different links, so when the student goes in, like I gave you the link for coming in, you've come in like a student. And they normally would come in through Edge or Chrome, we recommend, or Firefox. Internet Explorer is no good, but and then you can download the setup manual, the user manual, the audio schematic, the video schematic. So you can see how it's all working. So some of these are the crown jewels of the system in a sense, but all the software I've developed myself. And I've got now a team of folks, some people from Singapore, they're keen to see this being used in different Bible seminaries, for God's kingdom. And I really felt that God was speaking to me a few years ago, and this was before COVID, to try and make the system available for other people. So kind of refining the user interface and how can have multiple institutions at the same time and multiple classrooms at the same time. And so I've just kept on developing it, and with the desire just that the Lord would use this, for his kingdom, and enable seminaries like yourselves to be able to use this and have hybrid classrooms at a low cost. Because I think Singapore Bible College is set up with Zoom rooms, but they've invested a tremendous amount of money, and I think it's still that they're still having problems as far as I know, but I haven't had personal contact with them. But what's financially viable for schools, so you shouldn't really have to spend more than say about $3,000 US dollars to set up the hybrid classroom with the TV, all the monitors, and the desktops, the 2 desktops, the main machines. It should be within a range of about $3,000. I don't know how much hardware costs there, but I've set it up even cheaper than that in Bangkok. It depends if you need to buy another LCD projector or whatever.
Yeah,
We use a full HD projector, but it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
You could use whatever you have available, really.
Yes.
So I think that's basically it that I wanted to show you.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll go ahead? If you do think you'll go ahead, I'll start to order some parts for the microphones and I'll start getting things in motion. I've got a Christian guy who does soldering and everything. In the past, I've made the electronics myself too. I'm a bit of a handy person, and
what's your background?
well, computers,
Computers.
electronic engineering.
Electronic.
So, and then I worked with computers, but that was 44 years ago, with all the mainframe computers in those days.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't the software side either, but I just gradually picked up on the JavaScript and the MySQL and so forth. And
So all this written in JavaScript.
yeah, mostly it's in JavaScript, PHP.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I'm looking for, I've got one guy here, as I was saying, a team is starting to form of people who are really wanting to be committed to this project, to see it sustainable and to grow and to outlive me, because I'm going to get older and one day I'm going to go, and I want to hand over the understanding of the software. I'm already doing it with one Thai guy, but unless they're really into doing the actual modifications themselves, at the moment I'm still doing the modifications myself. So but I'm wanting to transmit that. If you have software people who really are keen for the kingdom of God.
I was a software engineer.
Really?
I use Java, Python, Delphi.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Are you up to date with JavaScript?
That's unfortunately I don't use JavaScript.
Okay, so
I use C++, things like that, ancient things.
Yeah. I mean, all the interfaces are straight on from the website, so there's no software for the student to download. Though for Bangkok Bible Seminary, I have done an Electron standalone program for coming in on Windows or on a Mac. The students can use their Android, but we don't recommend them using Android when they're studying. We want them to use the chat and the full use of the interface if possible. And of course, if they're doing homework assignments, they're not going to be using their Android. But what we do find is a lot of, like our evening students, they can't make the class in time, but because we have a deadline, they've got to be in the class within 15 minutes of the start. We often see them that they're traveling in their car using their mobile phone. So they're still participating, or they're still hearing the class right from the beginning. And then when they get back home, then they put on their computer and they switch over to their desktop or whatever. That's quite common. But we have to tell them not to have an accident in their car. So it's so easy through the web for them to access all the interface, and even the console is through through a web link.
Okay. So thank you for sharing with us and give us a very clear image about how you do it. So maybe we'll take it forward by looking at the documents that you will provide.
Okay.
And after that, we'll contact you again, and maybe we can arrange perhaps some of our staff can go to you, or perhaps if you have someone to spare to come to us, yeah, maybe we can arrange that later.
Okay. The Lord has really provided the right personnel here, because our IT guy, we really work very well together, and areas that I'm poor in, he's strong. I'm strong in areas that he's weak in, and together this system has been developed. So he knows the system better than anybody else apart from myself. And he does a lot of the, he's our main IT guy. For setting up a new system, but he's really employed by BBS, and I'm a bit embarrassed to BBS to be distracting him in other ways. But I mean, it's the kind of thing that it could be that our director would give him leave for a few days over Christmas period or something like that, to set up somewhere else that it would be interesting for him to have the chance to go to a different country. But I don't know. I can't promise anything like that.
Maybe it's best if we can send somebody and come over.
I think that in the long term, at least, and then don't have a too long a delay. In the Philippines, they sent the guy, but then there was a delay in them setting it up there, and he'd forgotten. It wasn't fresh in his mind. It's best while it's still fresh in his mind to start to actually implement it, and then it can be more simple.
We plan to set one up before the end of this year. So
great.
Hopefully we can do it.
Well, if you're committed to doing with my platform, then I'll start motion and getting the mixer prepared for you. I've looked at commercial mixers and everything. They're either so big and bulky and expensive, and so many switches and everything. I just want it to be as simple as possible for the operator, just to be able to push a button, and it's already preset for the volumes and everything. So that's what I've spent quite a lot of time on developing, what works best. And so now I've got the circuit that I feel happy with, and the design that I feel happy with. So that's easier. It's better to use this than a commercial microphone mixer, especially too that normally for electric microphones, condenser microphones, you need an external power supply for them, and then you're forever running around changing batteries. I didn't want that either. So so this does away with all that, and it makes it maintenance free. So.
That's a very valuable experiences, and you put it into that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Okay, and then hopefully in the future, others can come to, others in Indonesia can come and see what you're doing, and it can multiply. And I'm happy for other Bible schools to use the software, for God's kingdom.
I think it can bless a lot of seminaries in Indonesia.
Good. Okay, well, lovely to see you both, and I'll send you the link for coming into the console, and the password is just ABC123. So
ABC123.
Yeah, and I'll send you the link for coming
by the
in.
way,
And you need to choose the fifth in the drop down, 005. You are 005. If you press on the other ones, it won't work for you. It's other institutions. So just go into the 005, and you can see how you set up a classroom and different things. You could set up whatever you want from there as well. But again, if you go to the on the menu, the links at the bottom, then download the setup manual, the user manual, the audio schematic, and the video schematic. So I don't need to send those to you separately. You can just download them straight. So.
Okay. By the way, on which platform do you host the system? Is it Windows, Linux, or something like that?
Windows. Yeah.
Oh, on
So the
Windows.
operator, it should be on Windows. Yeah. I've not tested at all with Mac. The students can come in on a Mac or on an iPad or iPhone. The thing is with the Mac and the iPhone, they really make it difficult for third-party software to
Yes,
run
yes.
on it.
Yes.
And every model is different. And the iPad especially, once I found that when they're having the YouTube stream, if they then open their camera, the sound goes off of the YouTube stream. I mean, it shouldn't happen, but
Yeah.
and different models have different quirks, and I have to try and detect on the software which model they're using and adjust the software according to their model. I've tried as far as I can, but it's a real headache. But for the operator machine and the teacher machine, they're both Windows based. So you would need a Windows setup on them. And anyway, all in the setup manual. When you download the setup manual, it explains all that.
And the server is the server also on Windows?
No, it's a Linux. It's a third party. So we hire. We don't have the server. The BBS server is not located in.
Online?
Pardon?
Is it hosted online?
What do you mean?
The server.
Yeah, the server.
Yeah, we pay a company for a dedicated server, so a dedicated machine.
Yeah. That's usually what we do also.
Yeah, because it's too expensive to set up, and then the maintenance of your own server and things. It's easier to pay the monthly fee for us, but we've got quite a lot of capacity on the server. But again, the BBS server is only it's only issuing the JavaScript to run the pages and everything. All the data linking, all the video linking and everything is either YouTube straight to the student or else the IP to IP. So the IP of the classroom to the IP of the student. It's not going through the BBS server.
Right.
So, but the BBS server is storing all the information of the attendances, and it is keeping a monitor when the student is on, like you're on at the moment. Every few seconds, it's sending a bit of information to the server, just so the server knows that you're showing your camera and everything, because that's how we monitor the attendance. Oh, one other thing that I haven't explained to you is that the classroom students, we have a QR code on the door.
QR code.
Yeah, we have a QR code on the door. When they come in to the classroom, they just scan that with their Android or their iPhone.
Yeah. That's for attendance.
And that logs them in as a classroom student into the system. It's all incorporated into the attendances. So the teacher doesn't have to check any attendances whatsoever. And at the end of the term, there's a report. You can have a report for the whole term of which students have passed how many times of the classes. So we have a criteria that they mustn't miss more than 3 classes. And so they have to pass, and you get all that as a printout or as an email, or you can look at that. If you go to the attendances menu, you can then print out, or at any time during the term, you can monitor which students have attended how many times or have passed the criteria for passing the class how many times. So you can warn them in advance if they're in danger of failing the class or whatever. But it also includes the classroom students. And what we find is that sometimes it used to be a headache because sometimes we weren't monitoring the classroom students. The teacher was doing a manual check of the classroom students, but the online was automatic. But sometimes the classroom student couldn't attend the classroom but asked, can I go online this week? And so it was really confusing with the attendances. Now it's really smooth because when they scan that QR code, that's logging them in as attendant, as an attendee. So long as they come in on time, you can set it has the same criteria for they must come into the classroom within so many minutes to be classified as present. But so long as they scan it within those minutes, then they're classified as in attendance. And also on this screen, they will appear as a still picture. It takes a picture of them, and their still picture will appear on this screen in front of the teacher, so the teacher knows their name as well, which is helpful. So the whole class registry is put into the when you
set up classroom.
When you set up the classroom, and you choose the meeting, all the students' names are here for the whole class registration, whether they're in the classroom or online. And we don't differentiate anymore whether they're studying online or whether they're studying in the classroom. We assume that they have almost the same classroom experience, whether they're actually present in the classroom or present online. We're hoping that ATA will understand that when they do the accrediting. We're not making a big deal of the fact that some are online. We're just presenting it as if they're in the classroom. But ATA are a little bit behind on their accrediting criteria, and they, in the end, they'll catch up, because places like SBC, like your place and things, they'll switch over to high, and ATA will need to follow in the end.
Sure. I think that's the way we are heading forward.
So okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, so all you do is you just close your browser, that's all, and I'll stop the stream. Now you should, if I close the classroom, you should no, this is going to stop probably the streaming. I want to see if you get the email, and you should get a link in your email when I close this class. After a few seconds, you should get an email.
I got 2 emails already. One is attendance report, and the other one is my login data.
Okay, the login data. Well, the first attendance report won't work because I closed that previous one because you weren't ready. But you should now have just received another email. Have you received another email?
Let me refresh.
I received a copy of the emails. Did you receive an email? Attendance.
But it's still running, refreshing.
And this is the report that's come back. So, and you've passed Hendro, Lim, and passed. So,
Not bad for the first time student.
If you need to correct somebody's attendance, you can do that also in the attendance menu. You can choose a student, and if they failed and then they send a report later, they watch the YouTube stream or something, then you can actually change it to being passed as well. So there's ways of overcoming if there's a problem. So. Okay, so nice to see you, and I'll send you the link for coming into the console. That's all I need to send you, and then you can do whatever else from the console.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye, Doctor. Bye.